Wow, okay, so we've reached the end of everything that I wanted to talk to you guys about for chapter 3. This would have been stuff that we talked about in class, and we didn't have class today, so we're getting it out. I hope that it's helping you guys to have like a video reference to all this. Obviously, when we're in class, feel free to ask. I hope that you're actually watching these because it's taken a little bit of time to make them. I will try to go quickly because I realized my last 2 videos were long. Not on purpose, it's just those were some bigger subjects. Let's talk about homeostasis. I know I said I was going to go fast. Homeostasis is so important. It's like the thing. It's what your body wants to be in all the time. Homeo means same, stasis means like state. So it's maintaining the stable internal environment in your body, inside living things. What's that? Well, think of your temperature, for example. It's about, we'll do Fahrenheit, it's like 98.6. If it's like 100, that's not even 2 degrees higher, you have a fever. If you're at 96, you might be going into hypothermic shock. So you need to maintain your body temperature around the same level at all times. You need to maintain water balance inside you. If you don't have enough water, you'll be dehydrated. You could die. So if these, and those are just 2 examples, but if these conditions aren't in our optimum and in balance, all the other reactions that are happening in our cells are thrown off balance. And if that gets far enough out of balance, we will die. So being in this homeostatic regulation, it's necessary for all living things. And that regulation happens with our physiological adjustments. Example, it's hot, I'm sweating, that I'm going to sweat. So that's something your body does. Or we're able to move, we'll go somewhere cool. Other animals will do that too. It's cold outside. You might do this, or you might start shivering, which isn't something you control. Your body just does it. Or you'll see goosebumps form on your skin to try to contract and near the hairs on your body to maintain warmth. Okay, so our bodies will do things involuntarily or kind of tell us, you need to get some water. You need to get to somewhere cool now. For example, here's another example. Our blood's pH is this is incredibly tiny limits, between 7.35 and 7.45. If we even are a tiny bit out of balance of that, it could be fatal. You would have like acidosis or alkalosis. And then buffers are in our body that sort of stop it from getting too far out of balance. And that's carbonic acid and bicarbonate that maintain this incredibly tight balance. So one way our bodies maintain homeostasis is by the movement of materials across the cell membrane. So remember in our cell talk, we talked about the cell membrane and how important that was. Well, there's 2 types of movement that can happen through these protein channels. Passive transport, molecules are going to move from high concentration to low. You've experienced this. You've been somewhere and someone's spraying something all over their bodies. And you're right next to them, you're like, dude, I can't breathe. Or you're in a classroom and someone is spraying something. And then eventually on the other side of the room, you smell it. The molecules have moved from high concentration when the person's spraying their body to low, far across the room where you are, trying to get away from it. You can't escape. The other type of transport is called active transport. Molecules are going to move from low to high. So imagine pushing a boulder up a hill. That requires energy. And remember, our energy is in the form of ATP made by what? Our mitochondria. Where does this energy come from? Carbs. Remember how I told you everything's connected? So passive transport requires no energy. If we were in class, maybe I'll try to do this in class, but if I was in class, I'd take a beaker and I would just show you it's clear water. I'd drop like 2 drops of food coloring in it, set it, and forget it. And we would come back to it. But eventually over time, that beaker would be all, if I put green food coloring in, it would be all green. Because the molecules will just spread out until they're evenly spread out. We call that diffusion. is the process where substances move across a membrane from high to low. You can experience diffusion in your own life. You probably know someone who has a diffuser, one of those little oil things where it makes the room smell nice, where it starts off in the corner, but it spreads out through the whole room. It's diffusing through the air. That's a diffuser. It moves from where there's a lot to a little, high concentration to low. Osmosis means diffusion of water. So when water moves across our cell membrane, either in or out of the cell, it's going to move from high to low. If there's a lot of water in the cell and not a lot out, water is going to leave our cell and we'll start to feel dehydrated. If there's a lot outside the cell, it will rush into our cells until it's balanced, until the amount in and out is the same. Water moves from an area of high concentration of itself to a low concentration. So if there's salt, a bunch of salt inside your cell, and not a lot of water, water will go from low solute to high solute. It will go from high water to low water until it's balanced. Here's an example of simple diffusion. We're going to put some dye or something into here, and it's going to do until it's all spread out through the beaker. I just have here, I told you, if we were in class, I would have asked you guys to think about examples of diffusion. Like if we spray air freshener or someone sprays Axe body spray all over themselves, and then eventually you smell it. Those are examples of diffusion. Why is this important? Well, let's think about real life. You just got a pet. It's you just saw Finding Nemo and you're like, man, I want Nemo. And so you pick out the cutest little clownfish, you have a little bowl, you go home, you put him, and you fill it up with water, you put him in the water, and then he floated up to the top and he's dead. Oh, what did I do? Well, Nemo is a clownfish who lives in the ocean. Did you add salt to the water? If not, water is going to rush into his cells and make the cells burst. It'll be a hypotonic solution. That water will rush in and it will kill a fish. That's why you can't take an ocean fish and just put it in a fish tank with just water. They need to have salt water. They're used to living in a salty environment. For them, that's isotonic balanced. We need to be in an isotonic solution. For example, okay, you're you're in the hospital. Maybe you're working in the hospital and you need to give a patient one of those IV bags. What's in there? Water? Pure water? Is that what's going to go into their blood? Hope not. That's what's going to happen here. It'll be a hypotonic solution. It'll cause their blood cells to burst. On the other opposite end, you woke up on a raft in the middle of the ocean and you're like, oh no, I'm really thirsty. I better drink some of this ocean water. Why don't we do that? Why does it make people kind of go crazy? It dehydrates them. The concentration of salt in the ocean is higher than the concentration of salt in your body. So what will happen is water will leave your cells. If you try to drink ocean water, you'll end up more dehydrated than when you started. That's called a hypertonic solution. If you're in the hospital, in that IV bag, there's an isotonic solution of some type of saline solution that's balanced. The amount of water and salt is balanced to give you hydration and to keep your cells balanced. This is what a red blood cell should look like. If you add too much water, it's like a balloon. What's going to happen if I add too much water to a water balloon? It's going to burst. So cells that are in hypotonic solutions, low solute, lots of water, low salt, lots of water. Water's going to rush in and fill the cell until it bursts. If you're in a hypertonic solution, which is lots of solute, like sugar, for example, I think of sugar. You know why? Because if I give my daughter sugar, she's going to be hyper. So if I'm in a sugar water or salt water solution, that's hypertonic. Water is going to leave the cell and is going to dehydrate. That's bad too. So for cells, they need to be in an isotonic solution where the amount of water molecules and solute molecules are balanced. So water will flow in and out evenly in something we call dynamic equilibrium. So filtration is when solutes are going to move across a semi-permeable membrane, and that's from high to low pressure. So things are being filtered. It's a little bit different than diffusion, where we're talking about molecules moving just from concentration. Filtration has to do with pressure. Active transport is going to require energy for that to occur. And there are two types of really movement that require ATP energy. That's called endocytosis. And the types of that you can think of phagocytosis, which is kind of like cell eating, like if it's going to, like a macrophage is going to eat a bacteria cell. And pinocytosis, it's almost like cell drinking, where the cell is going to, like, it's like a liquid instead of like a solid, if you want to think of it. And exocytosis requires energy, and that's pushing stuff out of the cell, like exit, exo, exit, endo, inside. So here's an example. So here's phagocytosis or some type of endocytosis happening. So whatever this is a bacteria cell. Here's a macrophage is going to engulf it. That's going to take energy. It's going to wrap its pseudopods around it and absorb it. It's going to form into a bubble called a vesicle. Lysosomes are going to come by. Remember, they're the digestive part of the cell. They're going to digest whatever's in there. And then the rest is kind of waste for the cell. So that vesicle is going to form and match with the membrane of the cell membrane. Those two membranes are going to bond together, and it's going to push that waste out of the cell. So here we have endocytosis coming in and exocytosis, waste coming out. Those are forms of active transport, and that takes ATP energy. Here's a really cool example. Here's like a macrophage, one of your white blood cells, engulfing a yeast cell. So that doesn't belong in your blood. So this macrophage has sensed it and is just going to engulf it. Phagocytosis. It's using energy to eat. It's not really eating, but to eat that foreign object. Pretty cool. So we've been over a lot. Just to kind of show you, we did a lot of these in class. We did all the way up to here in class. And then I've made videos for all of these things. This is what I really intended to make a video on. It's what we didn't cover in Chapter 2. I added videos for all our subjects for Chapter 3. So that way on Monday, we could start right away on Chapter 4. And that's where I want to spend a lot of our time, because that's starting to focus more on the body than on these basics. But we can't understand the basics. We can't understand the whole body until we understand the basics. I'm going to add these links up there to other videos to help you kind of understand as you go through. So I hope this is helpful to you, and I will see you in a week. Bye.